What's keeping you up at night?
Hello, everyone. I am Alanna McGinn, host of the Bedtime Edit, and today we are talking about gut health and how our digestion is affected as we get older, how it's important to keep a healthy gut, and we have a very special guest on with us today, one that I'm really excited to talk to. Kyle Buchanan is a speaker, host of the Excel on Sirius XM, as well as the Feel Goodery podcast. He is the resident wellness contributor on Canada's The Morning Show. One day we will cross paths, I promise.
know.
With a background in nutrition and entertainment, Kyle brings a unique blend of honesty, humor, and nuance to his work, making complex topics accessible and engaging. His passion lies in providing insightful yet practical advice, empowering people to feel good and take meaningful action because, let's be honest, when we feel good, we have the gumption to do good for ourselves and for those around us. Hello.
Hi,
Kyle.
Alanna. It's so wonderful to meet you in person. I'm surprised our paths haven't crossed before this, but it's wonderful to be here. And yeah, I know it sounds so simple, but like when you feel good, life's just easier.
Yeah, I mean, I want to talk about that. Obviously, We're going to get into the gut and stuff, but explain that a little bit. When we feel, I mean, you don't need to explain it. It makes sense. When we feel good, we want to do good, right?
It's so like the simple stuff is the best stuff that we just kind of overlook a lot of the time. But a lot of us kind of go through and maybe we don't feel that great because we're just so used to it all the time, but we don't get as much done. We have this ripple effect where we don't get as many opportunities because maybe we're in a bad mood and so it's this kind of snowball that happens when we don't realize it. But if you've ever just had a day where you're like, I feel really good, the little things don't get you down as much. You're more productive. Life's just an easier place to be when you feel good in your body. So my whole thing is doing what we can on the days where we feel like it to build that foundation. So our baseline is just feeling pretty good. And then we're able to take on more and just experience life. Because life throws a lot at us. And it's so annoying because we hear that it's not the stress, it's how we respond to the stress that determines, but it's at the end of the day.
It's stress.
It's true. And it's true. So if the more we feel good, the more we're able to handle whatever crappery life throws at us on a given day.
I love that because I say that often too with sleep. Obviously, sleep is my thing, so it's what I speak to. And when I'm talking about, like the pillars of health, connection for me is one of the main pillars, as well as nutrition and movement and sleep. But with sleep, in my opinion, kind of being that baseline and foundation of those pillars, when we're not sleeping well, when we're not digesting well as well, which we'll get into, we don't feel great. We're not great to be around. Our day-to-day is so largely affected. And as you said, we begin to function on the amount of sleep that we give our bodies because our body just feels used to that, right?
Yeah.
But what we don't realize is we could be feeling so much better and doing so much more when you start focus on certain aspects.
Absolutely. It's the foundational stuff. And it's a hard line between good digestion or sleep. I would argue sleep is the top because if you're not sleeping well, you know more than I do, but it's the first domino to fall. Everything else will be harder to fix. But
you mentioned underrated digestion when we were talking when we were preparing for the podcast, and I love that. Why is digestion so underrated? And I love that you asked that because I feel the same way about sleep. Right? Sleep is so I feel like they're equals there. I really do because they also very much go hand in hand.
Absolutely. Well, also when you don't sleep well, your hunger hormones are thrown out of whack. It's bad enough that you're tired, but you don't feel as full from the foods you eat, and you are more likely to overeat and then feel like crap. And if you go to bed really full, you don't sleep as well, and it's this domino effect. But it is really true. So many of us maybe are operating we're actually at 50%, but we think this is our 80 and we're doing pretty good. And there's so many things that can make a small effort to do but have a huge impact that can make you feel that 70 to 80%. And you're like, oh, I actually feel great. But it's the little stuff that I think makes the biggest difference, and the foundational stuff. And you mentioned connection. And in terms of a healthy person, connection is something that is underrated. But that's a
Absolutely.
different topic.
That'll be another episode that we can talk about.
Deal.
Let's talk gut health.
Okay.
So what exactly is gut health, and how is our gut health affected as we get older?
Yeah. So gut health is basically what it says. It is the health of our gut, which encompasses the health of our digestive system, mechanically, how well we're actually breaking down and absorbing the nutrients we eat. And it also encompasses the health of our microbiome. And as we get older, I mean, digestion is always important, but it's a lot easier to digest when we're younger because our bodies are newer. Not to be like
everything's easier
morbid.
to do as we're
Everything
younger.
is right. As we get older, gut health and being conscious of it matters a lot more because as we get older, we are not as resilient as we once were. We produce less enzymes. We deal with more stress typically than our younger selves, but we don't have as efficient as we did repair mechanism wise. And as we get older, I feel like it's such a Debbie Downer. As we get older, if you think about it, our bodies have accumulated more crap from our world, more heavy metals, more toxins, more pollutions, and that can take a toll on everything, but especially our digestive system. So it's like we have more crap that we have to deal with, but our bodies aren't as resilient as they once were, and they can't repair what we put into it. So it's this perfect storm. More reason, really, to just do everything we can to recognize the importance of the pillars like gut health as well as sleep.
So this podcast for me is very much like I learn along with the listeners, right?
Yeah.
So I know a little bit about gut health, but obviously I'm here to learn much more. So you mentioned microbiome. Am I saying that right?
Yeah, microbiome.
Microbiome. So talk to me a little bit about that. What is that? Why is it important?
I mean, microbiome, it could encompasses, like, because we have bacteria everywhere, right? We have bacteria in our mouth, on our skin. Like when you go and rub up against someone or you hug someone, you're actually transferring bacteria, which is kind of gross and romantic at the same time. But as it relates to this conversation, we are talking about the gut microbiome, the collection of bacteria and fungi and parasites and viruses, like all that stuff that and viruses, it's not a scary word. Like we have a little bit of everything in us.
And we need a little bit of everything,
and we
don't we?
need a little bit of everything, even bad bacteria. Like there will always be a balance of good bacteria to bad bacteria. It's when there's too much bad bacteria that we really run into issue. And so the microbiome, as it relates, I'll say bacteria, but when I say bacteria, I'm talking about all those little critters running in our gut, just because it's easier to say. Our microbiome influences everything. It encompasses how well we digest our food. Our bacteria actually break down the food we eat. Like we have enzymes and mechanical processes to do that, but it's largely our bacteria that is able to break down our food and synthesize nutrients for us and make nutrients. And the more and more research that comes out about the microbiome, it leads us to think that we're actually driven by our bacteria more so than our own free will. Like the health and
I'm thinking of like little bacteria with like little stakes just ready to get us.
Oh yeah, it's like it's literally, we're kind of, people don't like this like phrase, but like meat suits. Like we're doing our bacteria's bidding. Like we are controlled a lot by them, even as far as our personality. The makeup, I had Dr. Stephen Gundry on my show, and he's like a legend in the bacteria world and a lot many other things, but he told me about the research that's coming out about altering someone's gut bacteria, and it significantly alters their personality, their ability to get addicted or less addicted to substances. So it is exploding how much our bacteria can actually dictate how we feel on a given day, just beyond digestion. Because the research on the influence of our microbiome it's fascinating.
So how do we know when our bacteria is controlling us too much? Like how do we know when our gut health is not so great? What symptoms show up?
There's obvious symptoms, and we think about like we're bloated all the time. I would say there is the argument to be made that any symptom whatsoever can be linked back to the health of your gut, because as Hippocrates said, like health begins in the gut. So if there's something that's not quite right, chances are supporting the gut can have at least somewhat of an effect on it. So there's the obvious stuff like bloating and constipation and food sitting heavier after you've eaten after a couple hours. It can be loose stools. It can be not going every day. It can be going to the bathroom and not feeling like you've fully gone. I love poop talk. We can get into that.
We're talking about poop. That's my next question.
But other stuff, anytime there's like, I'm just thinking like more obvious stuff. Anytime there's skin conditions, anything related.
I had read that. Skin conditions can show up
anything
too.
related to the skin. Because you might have heard of the gut-brain axis, you know, how the health of our gut influences our brain, but there's also this superhighway, but there's also the gut-skin axis, where there's a two-directional relationship, largely the gut outwards. But so if you have skin conditions, if you have, brain fog can be a symptom of gut dysbiosis, and gut dysbiosis is basically like there is something amiss in your gut. Now, when it comes to like that makeup, it can be a couple different things. So the microbiome, as it relates to like dysbiosis, it can be having too little of the good bacteria. It can be having too much of the bad bacteria. And it can also be having not enough diversity within your gut microbiome. And we can talk about that in a bit, because that's really important in terms of supporting the gut. When there's not, you want your gut to look more like muesli cereal than Cheerios, right?
Okay. I love it.
You want to have a whole bunch of different parties, different neighbors going on, because that diversity correlates with so many wonderful health outcomes. And they're learning that even though there's a couple different pillars of what makes up a not so great microbiome, lack of diversity within the gut seems to be correlated with a lot of negative health outcomes, and vice versa. More diversity has been associated with a whole bunch of positive health outcomes. So
that gives me so many questions. Okay, so one, we're showing symptoms.
Yeah.
What do we do? How do we know that it is our gut? That like, what is a step that somebody would take, and then to accompany that, how do we make a diverse gut?
I would say if there's any digestive problems at all, I would say, and I want to be careful not to say your gut is broken and have people think that they're troubled. So I want to put that disclaimer out there. But I would say if there's any digestive issues whatsoever, if you have, if you're not going to the bathroom every day, if you have any skin conditions, if you have aches and pains as well, that can all be indicative that you just need to show some love to your gut. And this really encompasses just eating well, removing foods that could potentially harm the gut for a period of time. If you're on a healing journey, and this is like, if you're looking for something, this is where you want to double down on nutrition, and that includes both what you put in and temporarily take out for a period of time. So that would be that. What was the second question? How do you start?
How do we make it a diverse gut?
So as far as diversity in the gut, it can be a whole bunch of different things. The biggest thing, one of the best things you can do that we don't, is eat more variety. Like, that is one of the best ways to grow a whole bunch of different bacteria, because different foods feed different bacteria, right? And North America in general, we eat a very monotonous diet.
Yeah.
In general,
is big.
Routine is big. Food diversity itself is down, so this is like a bigger problem. So we have to make conscious efforts to increase variety. And there's so many different ways to do that. Of course, the staple thing that we hear is eat the rainbow, and I stand by that. The more color you have, because different colors contain different polyphenols, and it's those polyphenols, those antioxidants, that actually feed your good bacteria. When you feed your good bacteria, they produce substances that help other bacteria grow, and the more good bacteria grow, the more you crowd out the bad bacteria. So you're essentially giving yourself an arsenal to crowd out the bad bacteria. So a couple different ways to add variety. Color, first and foremost. Herbs and spices, incredibly underused. Like, there's so many, like, we use salt and pepper, but then the poor dusted like dill in the back of your cupboard sees, the crusty thing, sees you pulling out that damn salt and pepper every time. But like salt, herbs
Are there
and
certain
spices,
herbs like that you would recommend?
I wouldn't, like, I would just go, the more variety the better.
Yeah.
That's what
okay.
I would,
Fair enough.
I love cinnamon. Cinnamon
I eat cinnamon every morning.
Okay, for a blood sugar aspect, highlight
Yeah.
cinnamon. That would be great.
Yeah.
Of course, if we're turmeric, of course, people know turmeric's amazing. I would say cumin, coriander, because it's also really soothing for the digestive system. Fennel would be also really good, more so because it can, especially if you deal with a lot of gas, because fennel is it's a carminative herb, so it can help you expel excess gas when you have, like, I just keep fennel seeds around, especially if you deal with post-meal gas and you have that post-meal bloat. Just chewing on a couple of fennel seeds is good, but the more, it's great. The more variety you have with that is better. And within the same category of food, variety still counts. So if you buy Red Delicious apples all the time, next time buy Fuji. After that, do Red Gala. Like, the nutritional profile can vary just enough that you're still getting more variety. Even shopping at different stores, because different stores source from different locations sometimes. So support all your local retailers around there. Go to, if you have the time. And of course, everything's expensive now. So don't spend an arm and a leg when something is cheaper elsewhere. But all these little things can make a big difference. And I do want to highlight one. I talked about the rainbow, but I want to highlight one color to include more of, and that would be red foods.
Okay.
So red foods.
I thought you were going to say green, like leafy greens, things like that. But interesting.
Yeah. Include the greens, because that's also
Leafy
rich
greens.
in all this stuff. Leafy greens. But I feel like red foods don't get enough hype. So red foods, raspberries, beets, pomegranates are actually one of the healthiest gut foods around. So red foods, I'll back up. We have this very interesting bacteria in our gut. And it was discovered just like 15 years ago. Like, it's been there, but we kind of discovered it when we were doing all this research. And it's called Akkermansia muciniphila. And this is known as a keystone bacteria in our gut, meaning that it's like a pillar. It helps other bacteria grow. When this bacteria eats foods and consumes things down there, it produces substances that gives birth and feeds other good bacteria. So it's kind of like it's the sassy mother, like in drag. Like, it's the mother.
Yeah.
And it turns out that Akkermansia loves red polyphenols, and red polyphenols can be found in red foods. So that's where, pomegranates, raspberries. I'm a big fan of beets.
Yeah, I'm a big beet girl myself.
Yeah.
They're a pain.
They are a pain.
They're a pain, but I do love a good beet salad. Yeah.
Beet salad you can get, if you don't like the actual beet, you can get beet crystals at stores, they're actually not expensive for everything else.
What about pickled beets?
Yeah, that's great.
Are those do those have the same kind of nutrient factor?
Yeah, absolutely. And it's a fermented food technically, so you're getting some benefit of this is there. So and especially if you'll hear people not like beets because of the oxalates, which can form oxalate crystals in the body and lead to things like kidney stones. That's a very nuanced thing. But as long as you're getting enough calcium-rich foods, if you're eating a lot of beets, the calcium combined with the oxalates and you don't really absorb them. But if you want more energy, if you want a pre-workout that's natural, like beet juice, holy crap, it's great.
Oh. Yeah. I'm going to tell my better half to hear that right now, because he's big on the pre-workouts and he's not a fan of beets. Okay, and if he's listening, there you go.
This is the thing. Yeah, if you've ever seen The Office, Dwight was the beet farmer, so I feel like I'm doing Dwight proud whenever I talk about beets.
I love that you just referenced that. That's great.
Okay, good. I'm glad you like it.
No, I'm all about it.
I always kind of gauge humor with people if they've seen The Office. I'm like, okay.
Yeah. No, I love it. Okay, let's talk. I know we just met, but we're going to get into it right now. Nothing, as I'm getting older, my most favorite thing to do, and nothing throws off my day more, when I don't have a proper morning poop. And I know that I'm not alone in that. Like, it is so important for me. Yeah. And I work so hard to maintain that. But sometimes it doesn't happen. And I'm noticing it now as I'm getting older and getting into that midlife space.
Yes.
So how do we promote a good, healthy, preferably morning poop? Avoid constipation. I want to poop. Like my daughter says, when I have a good poop, I feel like Bella Hadid. Like, how do I get there?
I love that. I love different gender. How old's your daughter?
She's 14. She's going to kill me for saying that.
Oh my God. Everybody.
But no, poop is a very, very common conversation in my household.
Oh my God. I talk about it all the time. My first ever segment on TV was poop, because I just love talking about it. And I love it for, like, it's the great equalizer, because we all do it.
Yeah.
If anyone is intimidating you, you just imagine them taking a poo or trying to. Literally like, oh, you have no power over me. You do what I do every day.
Yeah, I love it.
And I'm the same. Like I went through a bout a little while ago where it's just like I was doing everything right and it just wasn't happening. And you just don't feel, because also from a gut health perspective, when you are constipated, it can alter the microbiome for the worse, which can make constipation worse, and it can be this cycle. So I am a huge proponent of regularity, and it's a key part. It's actually part of digestion. Like going to the bathroom is much a part of your digestive process, is what you take in and everything that goes in between.
Yeah, I've been traveling a lot the past month, and that's like nothing worse than traveling and you just don't go for days. It's like your body just knows to shut down.
I know.
You're in a strange toilet. Can't use it.
So, do you travel with a squatty potty? Do you use a squatty potty?
No, is that the step thing?
That's the step thing.
Okay.
So that would be, okay. So that would
Talk to me about all these things. I love it.
Okay, so that would be my first. Okay, so I normally do kind of do like a checklist, and I like talking about a checklist when it comes to if you're irregular, and especially if you're irregular and you used to be more regular, it's just kind of like a good checklist to go through. The first thing is to identify what has changed in your life. Age, of course, can be a factor, because when you get older, especially women who are dealing with more thyroid issues, if you have a sluggish thyroid, that slows down because it's your metabolism essentially. So it'll slow down everything, including digestion. So hypothyroidism and sluggish digestion go hand in hand. So this is where identify what's changed, and that includes going to your doctor, get blood work. If your blood work is like okay, but not as good as you think it could, I'd suggest going to someone like a naturopath to really get the narrow range of what you should be doing. So identify what has changed hormonally for you. If you've traveled, of course, if you've changed time zones, even the 1 hour that we go through twice a stupid year can affect how we go. Identify your stress, and we don't want to hear it because it's like stress affects that too, because absolutely, but sometimes...
Well, I want to talk about that, how stress affects our gut. Yeah.
When we're under stress, again, things can slow down, things can mess up, partly because of that gut-brain axis.
Yeah.
And literally something as like changes in your liquid intake, changes in your water. If all of a sudden you got a water filter, which is great, but you're used to drinking tap water, that still can affect your gut bacteria, and there's a transition kind of zone with that. So identify what's changed and do an honest like detective work of your life. The second thing, if you're constipated, is remove sneaky culprits. And this can be specific for you for a period of time in your life. It's not forever, but maybe because you have been under stress more, your gut bacteria has changed, because stress can affect the diversity within our gut as well. And because you're stressed and because your gut bacteria has changed, you can't digest a certain food as well anymore. And that food suddenly, for this time, is causing you constipation. The first thing I normally cut out is dairy. Cheese especially can be constipating for people, but then you can go further. I know. Listen, for other people,
I'm good with milk, but don't say cheese.
It depends. It depends how desperate you are. For me, it's like if I'm not constipated, I will remove everything. Protein powders as well can be tricky for people sometimes.
Interesting. Okay.
Yeah. The more, generally speaking, the more whole foods based, if you're dealing with constipation, the more whole foods based you can go, and the less processed food you can go, the better. And I love protein powder, but it still is a highly, highly processed food. And sometimes that can just make constipation worse. Next up, identify what's changed, remove sneaky culprits. And sneaky culprits are specific to you. It could be even like if you drink Diet Coke, it could be aspartame affecting you. Like this is really nuanced, and that's when you have to really trust your body and know your body. The third would be movement. Add more, because we're more sedentary now than ever before, myself included. I sit interviewing all day, and oh my gosh, it affects me. And we're so short-sighted. Sometimes, like, I don't realize I haven't moved for a couple days, and I'm constipated, and I'm like, why the hell can't I go? And it's like, oh, because I've been sitting, because sitting helps moving helps peristalsis, which is the contraction of our intestinal system, and that helps us go. So move a little bit more. This can be exercise. This can be even like taking a break between work and lying on your back and moving, bringing your knee up, one knee at a time, and just literally helping stuff go down there.
Yeah.
And
we do it for our babies, for our kids. We move those legs to move the gas and get things going. So it makes sense.
It's so funny to me that as kids, and if you're a parent, I'm not, but like you are so worried about your kids going to the bathroom every day.
Yeah.
Like, did you poop every day? Did
Yeah.
you go through? And when they didn't, that's an issue. But we grew up to be adults, and it's like, yeah, it's okay if you're only going a couple times a week.
When's the last time
That's
I pooped?
fine.
Like, you don't even remember sometimes, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
And sometimes, like, getting more regular can be the first step to fixing hormones, to blood sugar
believe
support, to, like, never ever, I mean, I don't believe you should do a cleanse at all with, like, any of that intense stuff that you can buy at the store without the guidance of someone. But
Yeah.
never ever do, like, which happens, twice a year, sometimes around a birthday and New Year's, those detox cleanses. Never, ever, ever do that if you're constipated, because your body eliminates all the stuff that you want to eliminate through your poo. If you are not going every day and you're regulating your detox processes, you're throwing more detoxified stuff in your poop that is not moving, that'll just get reabsorbed into your system, and you can have this terrible reaction. So don't, just FYI. So with movement, the other thing that is in there is structural stuff when you poo, and this is where the squatty potty comes into play.
Okay, yes, I love it.
So
I want one.
think everyone should have a squatty potty. I love it. So essentially a squatty potty, because modern toilets are not built for good poos. Modern toilets are built for hip issues because it's uncomfortable to squat. I totally get that. But when you squat, I'll do this as, like, cleanly as I can.
You don't have to be clean. Go for it.
When you squat, you want to kink. You have this kink in your bowel, and it keeps, it helps you not go when you don't want to go. But when you squat, you unkink your bowel just enough, like the position that the squatty potty puts you in, or a stack of books. It unkinks your bowel ever so much. So structurally, it's easier for things to flow out of you. You tend to go more efficiently. You go quicker. And the big thing when people start using them is that you just feel like you've completely evacuated. Because there's nothing worse than, like, feeling like, I think I still have to go, but I've been sitting here for 20 minutes and, like,
now my legs are asleep and I can't move. Yeah.
There's nothing more frustrating than getting off the toilet and you just can't feel your friggin' feet.
And then you get the pins and needles.
And
you still feel like you got to poop.
And you still have to go. It's like, okay, so this is, and that's supposed to start your day, and you're supposed to feel great about that. But so I really encourage, if your hips allow it, like if you're not in pain doing it, I would, and if you are in pain, if you're dealing with hip issues, I'd, like, do stuff with a diet and then try the squatty potty again. Like, I don't say, like, completely write it off. But I travel with a squatty potty now. I have, like,
Do you really?
I have a collapsible one.
I love that.
It's great because, or if I don't, I will flip the garbage over in the hotel bathroom, and I will prop, because it's that important. It's that important.
Okay.
So that's number 3. 4 would be eat more foods that encourage regularity.
Yes.
So
That's always my number one go-to, because for me, like, that is my telltale that my gut's off when I'm not regular, because I am pretty regular for the most part. And if I'm not, and it's not because of travel or something like that, that to me is like, okay, what am I eating? Like, what do I need to switch up?
Do you have a favorite? Do you have a go-to, like, food, like, when it's?
For me, it's like I'm
Mary?
a big leafy green girl, so I make sure I'm getting in my leafy greens. For me, also, it's water. Like, I could go all day and not drink anything. I'm the worst. Yeah, I'm the worst, and I'm so bad with it. And I have to, like, consciously drink water. Like, right now, I'm having tea just because I have a cold, but I have to force myself to drink water because I never get thirsty. So that's like a sign for me too. I'm like, okay, I'm probably dehydrated.
Water makes a huge impact because you're literally hydrating your poo, right?
Yeah.
And if you don't, like, your colon is a sponge, right? So especially if you're not getting enough water, it will suck whatever water is in your poo out of you. Like, it will hydrate one way or another. So that'll make you more constipated. So water's a big deal. Leafy greens are great. We've heard now, like, chia and flax are wonderful as well. But there's
chia every morning.
It's great. And if you're real, like, I kind of go through checklists again, a sub checklist within the checklist.
Yeah.
I will have fiber on an empty stomach with water half an hour before I eat a regular meal. So I will have, like, chia water on an empty stomach with before anything else. Sometimes I'll do psyllium. People in the health realm either like or do not like psyllium because they think it's too harsh on the gut. If I'm constipated, it's worth the little harshness that could be on the gut because it makes sure I'm going. So flax, chia, psyllium. But then there's other foods that I think are underrated when it comes to encouraging a healthier bowel movement. Kiwis are one of the biggest.
Yes.
You probably love kiwis for sleep.
Yeah, I just love kiwis.
Okay.
So, okay, good to know.
I like 2 kiwis at night before you go to bed. It helps with sleep, and it also helps you go in the next morning.
Great
Kiwis,
vitamin C.
yes, great vitamin C. And I eat the skin, like wash the skin, but I eat the full thing because you're getting more fiber. People just think it's gross because of the furriness.
No, okay, I'm gonna try that.
And fruit's expensive, so get the most bang out of your friggin' buck.
Totally.
Kiwis, dried apricots are also they're a great source of sorbitol, which can have a mild laxative effects. Like when I travel, I will take apricots with me, dried apricots. And mushrooms. Those are kind of like my trifecta when it comes to upping those 3 foods. When it comes to supporting regularity.
Do you do like a dried mushroom capsule, or like you just eat mushrooms?
I eat mushrooms. Like I'll just I will go through a pack of mushrooms a day.
Like cooked mushrooms.
Cooked mushrooms. Yeah.
Okay.
And and if I'm in a rush, I will microwave mushrooms. I will just like take it because cooked, or especially when it comes to regularity, for me and most people, like cooked mushrooms have a more beneficial effect than raw mushrooms. But the great thing about mushrooms is that you can't overcook them. They just get more rubbery. They have this really wonderful property where I'm a terrible cook and a lazy cook, and you can't go wrong.
Okay.
So
any mushroom, like any certain kind of mushroom?
I just go variety. I honestly go with the cheapest. I get like whatever's cheapest on the thing. But yeah, again, with mushrooms, variety counts too. So when it comes to white versus brown, I'll alternate. But mushrooms are another thing. And then again, variety and fermented foods, it can be good as well. But those would be my like star foods. And then after you've done those 4, supplemental support. I am a fan of supplements for the right person.
I wanted to ask you about that.
Not as a replacement, but in my head, there are certain supplements that are staples that everyone should take, but sometimes certain supplements for the right person, it can just help you get from A to Z faster. Like you're still doing all the other things, but if you're looking to support a health goal, I do believe that the right supplement for the right person can go a long way. The first one, you probably know what I'm going to say. Mm-hmm. Can you guess?
A probiotic?
Oh, no, I was going to say magnesium.
Oh, yes, of course. I should have known this because of sleep.
That's okay. No,
totally. No, I always say that's the M I love because I obviously always get asked about melatonin. So
yes,
magnesium is the one that, yes, for sure,
I would say
everyone
magnesium
should have it.
And there's different forms of magnesium.
Yeah.
As you know, sometimes if you're dealing with like everyone talks about magnesium glycinate or bisglycinate as being one, and it is one of the best forms there is in terms of absorbability, but there are cheaper forms of magnesium, things like magnesium citrate, even something like magnesium oxide, which is people will harp on, but it's terrible because it'll give you cramps, but it'll give you cramps because it has a laxative effect.
Through. Yeah.
So I not a long-term magnesium supplement, but if you're dealing with constipation, going with like a magnesium citrate powder would be there's a one called, there's different citrate powders. There's one called Meg 365 that you can just add to water that I like.
Do you take it at night?
At night. I take magnesium at night.
Yeah.
I'm okay, so I'll do magnesium glycinate at night. Mm-hmm. But if I'm constipated, I'll switch to the citrate for a period of time. So magnesium off the bat.
Yeah.
You mentioned probiotic. I would say, I know we'll get to a different topic around probiotics, but if you're constipated, sometimes taking a probiotic can make things worse.
Okay.
Because you're adding new bacteria. It can sometimes be... I would go fermented foods for constipation before doing a probiotic. So magnesium first. Yeah. I would go to omega-3 if you're not taking omega-3, because we don't think of omega-3 for anything besides like skin or joint. But good fats, lubricate things down there, can make it easier to go. It also supports bile production, and bile helps you go. So if you're not on magnesium, omega-3, vitamin C sometimes is one as well. If you've been under more stress, your body uses up more vitamin C when you're under stress, and sometimes vitamin C can be the missing factor there. And then the other fat would be MCT oil. That can also help people kind of grow.
MCT oil. The other ones that I include those all in my daily supplements, so I feel like I'm doing well. But what is that?
MCT. So MCT, it stands for medium chain triglycerides. It comes from coconut oil or palm oil. but that's palm oil is kind of controversial. But typically it'll be from coconut. And essentially it's a very short fat because all fats are different lengths, right? MCT is a medium length fat.
Okay.
And it's absorbed a little bit differently than other fats. It doesn't go through the same pathways. It's absorbed pretty rapidly, but sometimes the one drawback that people, when they take too much MCT, they go to the bathroom. They have like disaster down there because they've just done it too much. So sometimes it can be an added benefit. It's not something I would recommend as like a staple supplement for people.
Right.
It's something that I would include more as like even if you're making salad dressings, like use MCT, a little like a tablespoon of MCT oil combined with the olive oil, like add it in subtly. And it's also really, really great for the brain.
Okay.
It's a source of exogenous ketones, which help kind of fuel the brain. So you get this brain boost, but that would be another fat to consider. But yeah, so that would be my staple. That would be my staple ones. If
I feel like I'm never going to be constipated again. This is all such good information. I love it.
If I'm one that's not talked about as much is something called, and this is like, you're not doing all this at once, right? You're doing this checklist, and then you're like, okay, something still isn't working. And this is where I would say, like, if you're still not going after all of this, please consult with your healthcare practitioner. As a reminder, this is for informational purposes only.
Of course.
But there's another one, an Ayurvedic herb called Triphala or Triphala, Triphala. It's a combination of fruits, I believe, these three herbs all in one. I guess is why they called. I could be wrong on that, but now I'm just saying it out loud. Triphala. What that does is it encourages peristalsis. So your intestines, they go through like a muscle contraction, and things get moved down, and that's how you go. As we get older, sometimes certain things happen, and we kind of don't get as strong there. So Triphala can also encourage peristalsis. So sometimes when I'm traveling with my magnesium at night, I will take start with half, one. Sometimes if I'm really bad, I'll do two, but like I will do Triphala at night, and it can have a promoting effect. And that's a nice way of saying sort of it works. It's not a laxative. It works a little bit differently. Because you can also go with the laxative routes just to get things going. If the Senna or Cascara, but that if you've ever taken Senna or Cascara, it feels like you're being blown out. Like it feels like you are like I had to take, so I was dealing with high stress or whatever, for whatever reason I was super constipated, and I forgot about Triphala and I had it. But I was like, okay, so I had to go on this trip, and there's nothing like being on a plane in a hotel and not going.
Yeah.
So the night
or just being in a different environment and like your body's off. It's just it's the worst feeling.
It's the worst feeling in the world. So I took a combination that had Cascara in it, which is it is an herbal laxative, and I had some relief the morning before I flew, but then it kicked in like on the flight. And
oh no!
It was one of those ones where I had an hour left in the flight, and I was like, I never go number 2 in the plane ever. And it was
I
one of those.
avoid trying to go number 1. I mean, that's probably why I don't when I travel, because I limit my water intakes. I don't even want to step foot in those bathrooms.
It's awful, but it was one of those things where I was like, I'm going to have to, because then you look back and there's a lineup of people, and I'm not a fast goer. I'm like, there's going to be people waiting. So, anyways, Cascara, like those work, and I had to do the number 2. It was fine, but when I got to my destination, I had Triphala, and that got me back on track. So that would be, but again, that's like as needed for a short period of time. Those are things to consider. But magnesium, omega-3, if you're not already on those, that would be
a daily
kind of like my top 2.
What's your and I mean, you might not be able to comment on this, and you can say so if not. What's your thought on like enemas? Should people do them? Just to like. Because here's why I say this. I had to go for my first colonoscopy a while ago. It was during COVID. And have you ever had one?
Yes.
Okay. So you know the process. Yeah. Those that are listening know the process. That day before is like crazy, right?
It's a TV day.
Yeah, exactly. But at the same time, like I remember they're, about to put me under, and they're like, how'd you do? I'm like, honestly, we should do this once a year. Like I felt so amazingly cleaned out. I'm like, we need to like release. And the nurse even said to the doctor, she's like, I always tell him that. Like we should just do this.
Well, especially because we typically have more weight in our gut than we realize, like backed up stuff that's just sticking to the walls of our intestine.
Yeah.
That is like should be gone, but it's not. So sometimes it can be useful. I personally don't get them myself, but I know like there's a lot of like, there's a lot of really wonderful practitioners out there that as part of their protocols, they recommend coffee enemas as a benefit. I've never done that. I'm not gonna. You can include this. I don't know enough of it to speak on it, yay or nay.
Yeah.
I know that some people feel really good on it. I worry about a reliance sometimes.
Fair enough.
The people that go too regularly, and it's like, okay, you still want to support the right direction of how things are supposed to go. You want to be able to do it
naturally.
Exactly. Yeah. So they're not something that I normally I would work with someone who really knows what they're doing if you were to do that, because I think once in a while I absolutely fine to try out, but it's the push to do it regularly that I'm just naturally kind of concerned with.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, and when I say we should all do it yearly, again, I do sleep, guys. Like, this is not me telling you to go get an enema once a year. No. But I have to say it's not fun to go through, but the day later you're like, man, I feel like $1,000,000, like all cleaned out. It was
Yeah. I would sooner try I would do Trifala first, something like that, before doing the enema. Just so, because in my head it's like you're encouraging your own body to push it out.
Yes.
Thoroughly. But again, to each their own. And again, I'm always cautious when I say, like, I think we're getting a little bit better where things aren't getting taken out of context as much nowadays.
Yeah, no, I'm the same with my practice. Like, you always have to be kind of careful how you word things, and always we're not medical doctors. No. These are not medical disclaimer. You know what I mean? We always have to, for sure. I get that. I totally understand that. This was amazing. I mean, there's still so much I want to talk about, like stress and gut, but maybe we can have you back on again because I don't want to take up too much more of your time.
1,000%.
This was so much good information. Okay, so if you are, and I'm going to focus more on women because that is primarily my audience. If you are a woman and you know that you are struggling with your digestion right now, what would you say? And I'm sure you've mentioned it in this amazing hour. What would you say are like your top 3 things that they could start doing tonight to help better their gut health?
I'm going to add 3 things.
Yeah. Or however many you want.
I would do, I'll stick with 3 because I think I just listed like 1,000 things in that 5-step constipation.
Let's condense it.
I would start with something I didn't say, which would be digestive bitters. Digestive bitters are essentially anything bitter. If you don't want to go like the supplement route, anything bitter is digestive superstars. Like,
so what would be an example of that?
Arugula, radicchio is one of my absolute favorites.
I've actually heard you talk about that before.
Yeah,
I know you, Kyle. I follow you.
Oh my God, I need to follow you back. I'm sorry. I'm so overwhelmed with social media lately. I have not had time to, anyways.
No, you talk about radicchio a lot, I feel like.
I do. And I will go to, when my digestive system is off, I will double down on bitter foods because anything bitter helps you stimulate your digestive juices.
Okay.
Which, when you stimulate your digestive juices, you stimulate bile, which will help move things along. And it'll also help you digest your food better, so you will feel less bloated overall. Radicchio, for me, it's one of the best foods for it. I will go to a grocery store, and for me, it's ready to eat because I just take I wash your fruits and vegetables, of course, but with radicchio, if I'm desperate, you can just peel off the outer layer and you have like, it's kind of a banana kind of. I could be wrong. I could be eating a whole bunch of crappy bacteria, but I will eat it like an apple to get things back on track. But digestive bitters are essentially alcoholic extractions. You can get non-alcoholic based extractions as well of really, really bitter herbs. And there's different brands up there. There's 2. There's Canadian bitters. St. Francis makes this in Canada. There's also Swedish bitters. Canadian bitters. So Swedish bitters are great, but they contain senna, which is a laxative. So it'll help you go, but you can get reliant on those kind of bitters. Canadian bitters don't include that. You have some other bitter ingredients. And with that, you can put some in a little shot glass of water and shoot it back. Or sometimes what I do is place them on my tongue, hold it in your mouth for 10 seconds. Because what happens when you like bite into a lemon? You salivate. Right. There's that bitterness. That's a trigger of things also salivating, for lack of a better phrase.
That's why they say lemon water in the morning, right?
Lemon water in the morning, absolutely. I mean, that's a staple as well, you know. Some people like the apple cider vinegar route. Obviously, it doesn't taste as good. But digestive bitters, if you're having digestive issues, would be my first thing. Because as opposed to something like digestive enzymes, you're encouraging your own production with digestive bitters. So before every meal, digestive bitters 10 to 15
every meal.
Before, 10 to 15 minutes before. Because you if you think about it, you're revving up your digestive system. So along those lines would be number 2, and that would be, it sounds so simple, but take a few deep breaths before you eat.
Okay.
Take 3 deep breaths, make your exhale longer than your inhale. When you do that, when you've probably talked about this as it relates to sleep, you have fight or flight or you have rest and digest.
Yeah.
We spend way too much time in fight or flight. When you're stressed out and you eat, you actually don't produce as many digestive enzymes, because when you are stressed out, your body thinks it's facing danger. It's fight or flight. Energy gets diverted away from your digestive system into your extremities, into your brain, your eyes, so you can fight and you can run. The last thing your body cares about if you're fighting for your life is how well you're digesting lunch, right? So you're not going to digest as well. So if you're having digestive issues, adding calming practices, meditation's great, but at the very least, a few deep breaths before you eat can make a huge difference.
I love that, because I'm a huge proponent of breath work. So I love that you can also incorporate that into proper digestion. I think that's amazing. Yeah, and it makes so much sense.
Breath work is so great. It has so many different elements to it.
Yeah.
And the third would be variety. Third would be add more variety in fermented foods if you can. Like if you tolerate fermented foods, okay, because there is a subset where because of the makeup of what's going on in your gut, you actually don't do well with fermented foods. You'll know whether or not that's the case. But get sauerkraut, get kimchi, get yogurt. You can get probiotic yogurts. Like I know I said avoid probiotic capsules if you're dealing with, like, work with someone for that. But there is, when I need a boost, there is a yogurt called BioK that I think is available at like Superstore and Loblaws and Farm Boy and health food stores as well. It's really concentrated probiotic yogurts that you take, and sometimes for me, even though it's categorized as a supplement, it's sort of like a super fermented food in my eyes. So I will include more fermented foods and a BioK if digestion is off. So bitters, eat in a calm state, and fermented some form would be the 3 trio to start with.
This was amazing. This is an episode that I'm going to probably listen to over and over, because you gave so much good information.
I know I ramble and I barf sometimes on words, so okay.
I love it, and I know my listeners are going to love it. So thank you. Thank you. We will have you back on, because there's still so much more to talk about. Where can everyone find you?
So I'm on Instagram, would be the best route. It's Kyle B, so ITSKYLEB, because it's confusing. I get it, but Kyle B was taken, so it's Kyle B on Instagram. I have a podcast called Regularity that's everywhere you find your podcast, and if you have SiriusXM in your car, I host a show on SiriusXM every Sunday called The Exhale. So that would be where to find me.
Amazing. And we will put all of your links in the show notes. Thank you so much for coming on.
Thanks,
appreciate
Alanna.
it.
I appreciate
it was such
your time.
a pleasure to finally meet you.
Likewise.
Thank you everyone for listening, and I hope that everyone gets some good healthy guts and some good healthy poos after listening to this episode.
Poo well, everyone. Poo well.
Find new episodes of the Bedtime Edit every other Monday. Follow and subscribe on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube, or wherever you listen to podcasts.